down to business.
When he drinks, he thinks.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
Oh, goodness. I meant to turn these things on, and Nate, give me just a second here. Just frisson. Oh, nothing goes right. I'm up against the big dawn tonight. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Whiskey Musings Broadcast. I'm just killing myself here. Hold on. Okay. So there we go. That makes more sense. All right. Jeez. Well, you see what it looks like when I don't have my lights on in the studio. Oh, goodness. What's up, everyone? This is the Whiskey Musings Broadcast. I am your host, Rick. And yes, I know some people would say that this is the worst thing that you could do, Whiskey, is go up against Don's, Don's interview with CNN, but I am going ahead and doing it because of the fact that I need to be able to get a video out into the ethosphere because I promised it. I promised it to all of you. I promise that I am going to be here Wednesday nights and Saturday nights, and I will do my darndest to make sure that I am here. No matter come hell, high water, rain, sleet, snow, whatever other kind of stuff is out there, I'm going to do what I can to get where I need to be and do the things that I need to do. Okay. So, yeah. Yes. So first things first. And you know what? It's okay. I know several of you out there are, maybe watching the CNN interview. I'm going to pick up the highlights probably after, just because of the fact that, I already know that it's more than likely going to be a train wreck, but whatever. A train wreck on CNN's side, by the way. But whatever. Anyway, so tonight is the 200th episode of the Whiskey Musings Broadcast. It is a thing to celebrate. I cannot believe that I have put together 200 total live streams. And they're all out there. I mean, they're all out in the ethosphere, so you can go and take a look at any one of them at any time that you want. Hello, Mrs. Whiskey. But tonight I am drinking Buffalo Trace for tonight's drink. And it's the Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. That's what I have on tap here for tonight. And 200 episodes. Oh my gosh. I can't even believe it. I honestly, I can't believe I've been doing this for what I've got. But you know what? I have probably 200,000. I've got so much energy and I'm ready to go. And it's all due to you folks out there who are coming every single live stream that come in. And even if you don't make every single live, it's fine. You go and you watch the show afterwards. You'll drop messages to me, whether it's through email or through like the Rumble comments or whatever. And I just love it. I just love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Not going to deny that. But good stuff with the Buffalo Trace going on there. And yeah. So let's go ahead and get my other piece out of the way. Tonight we have for tonight's affiliate. It is True Grit Roots Network. True Grit Roots Network, TGRN, champions independent artists while paying respect to the pioneers who shaped modern roots music featuring outlaw country, blues, and rock with a unique twist of urban that is carefully selected and purposely put together. We are the radio highway that connects the back roads, highways, and city streets to your favorite dance hall, roadhouse, and juke joint. TGRN provides original, exclusive programming and interviews that are produced and hosted by our own team of DJs, hosts, and personalities. Find us on the web at tgrn.net to download our app in the App Store and from Google Play. Alternatively, you can find us in the Live 365 catalog of digital radio stations and through the Live 365 app as well. You can also play our station on your Amazon Alexa by saying, "Play True Grit Roots Network from Live 365. Be sure to use the word "from" in the command. Play True Grit Roots Network from Live 365. Live 365 is also on your Roku, so you can play it through your television as well. Breaking boundaries for authentic roots radio, True Grit Roots Network, tgrn.net, Austin, Texas. And of course, I always have to call out that I am part owner in TGRN, but we do great things over there. My program manager and partner, Oogie, does just an absolute awesome job. He's got some great shows. The Blue Plate Special, which comes on, at noon Central. He's got some of the guys over there, like Jeff Hayes and Vinnie Marini and himself and Burr, who is his partner for Dirty Boots Radio as a show also. They do just an absolute wonderful job, and I just keep the station on the air. That's it. So that's it. And Becky over on Facebook says, "I love it, TGRN." Yes, thank you. We do appreciate everyone who comes and listens, just like I do here on the broadcast. So, all right. Okay. So, Biden has had a really, really interesting week. I got to tell you, trying to prep for tonight's show, just in the last 5 days or 4 days since we last talked from Saturday. So, we're talking Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and here we are tonight on Wednesday. I cannot believe how much has broken loose in the news cycle so far. And of course, everybody, all the political pundits and everybody else is talking, and by that, I mean the actual commentators and news folks who are actually speaking and talking about the true news, not the propaganda that gets put out by the mainstream media, but the other folks like myself, like Dan Bongino, like Mark Kay, like Mark Levin, like Ben Shapiro, all of them. They are all talking about just about everything in the they're talking about all the news and everything that has popped. But the biggest keys, the biggest things are obviously the three main items are, first, the ending of Title 42 tomorrow. It's going to open up a wave of people. There's already people at the border. I know Texas has been pushing and putting up Constantina wire, which is the razor wire. They've been, enforcing, Abbott put together a force of the National Guard to go down there and help protect the border for essentially the eventual wave that's going to come to the border. If it wasn't bad enough that we were, everybody's heard the numbers, sliding off and getting we've been invaded. This is an invasion force. This isn't anything special. This is Joe Biden and, by proxy, Kamala Harris, who Kamala is quote unquote the border person in charge of the border. She is, she's not doing anything. Mayorkas is a nightmare. He believes the border is closed, but yet if the border was closed, we wouldn't have all these people flowing across the border. So anyway, Title 42 has to deal with the COVID pandemic and the ability for the Border Patrol to just turn people away based off of health. And so, that's probably the biggest thing that's going to be happening in the immediate future. And that is, of course, tomorrow. So we're going to have to watch that. We're going to have to see what's going on there. And I don't really have a whole heck of a lot on that tonight in particular because of the fact that, well, I mean, pretty much everybody kind of knows just what the heck is going on with that. But this morning, big, huge, massive announcement out of the Republican inquiry into Hunter Biden and his business dealings along with Joe Biden. I just, I've been saying it for multiple times. I've been talking about it multiple times. Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and the family itself, all of them they're basically paid foreign agents. And by foreign agents, I mean, I'm not talking about like the 007, the Bourne Identity, agent kind of thing. I'm talking about somebody who is paid to do favors for foreign entities here in the United States. Now, under normal circumstances, you can register as a foreign lobbyist or something along those lines. You can certainly register that way and essentially announce to everyone that you are lobbying on behalf of a foreign government or a foreign entity. That is perfectly legal. The problem is when you do it under the table. Now, the investigation into the Biden dealings with everything, they had something like 20 shell companies, 20 different shell companies that were specifically set up to mask and hide where the money was coming from and where it was going to. And normal circumstances, I mean, first of all, I only have one company opened in my name, actually two companies that are opened in my name. But I don't go and like try to hide where money is coming from or anything else. I mean, I'm not attempting to, mask anything. And realistically, one of those companies was just started just this year. So I don't understand where all these companies are coming from. However, one of the big folks that has been really digging into it is Byron Donalds. And Byron Donalds is a former finance person. I can't remember exactly what he did in the finance world. However, he is just phenomenal in the fact that how he is able to dig through the records and find all of this stuff. And, he was one of the ones that did a speech this morning. It was incredible. And just the comments and talking from Comer and everything else. But I mean, let's be honest, we all thought that the Bidens, not necessarily Hunter, although we knew from the release of the Laptop from Hell book and the New York Post pushing out their stories about the Hunter Biden laptop. We all knew that Hunter Biden had dealings in China, that he was dealing with the CEFC, that his Rosemont Seneca Partners group had several interactions with the Chinese Communist Party and its owned entities. We all know that. But what was a bit of a surprise, or a bit of a well, I'm going to call it a surprise, at least it was to me, was the fact that the Hunter Biden trail actually came up with another country as well. Let me go ahead and show you that. This coming from the Washington Examiner. Hunter Biden investigation. Comer unveils Biden family's influence peddling in Romania and China. And Romania is one of them. I mean, we kind of knew a little bit about Ukraine as well. I'm sure Ukraine is in there too. But Romania also? I mean, Romania, I mean, we saw some things from like the Russian Moscow mayor's position, money and that kind of stuff. We saw some of that. But now we also have Romania on the list. So you have China, Ukraine, Russia, and Romania all a part of this essentially influence peddling scheme. From the piece, a top House Republican investigator released new financial records from his investigation into the Biden family's influence peddling and business schemes by highlighting bank records related to Hunter Biden-linked business deals in Romania and China. Representative James Comer, chairman of the House Oversight Committee, released a 36-page memo on Wednesday noting his committee had subpoenaed 4 banks and received thousands of records. The report argues the bank records show the Biden family, their business associates, and their companies received over $10 million from companies belonging to foreign nationals, with Republicans identifying payments to family members from foreign companies while Joe Biden served as vice president under former President Barack Obama and after Joe Biden left public office in early 2017. Now, you got to ask yourself this one question, which of course nobody else really has, at least outside of, the political pundits that are on the right in terms of the commentary. You have to ask yourself, what was Biden and his family doing for $10 million? What were they doing? And the only thing that makes sense, especially with the vice president's office. Now, bear with me here, and I'm gonna tie this. I'm gonna tie this a little bit, and it's tangential. I'm going to agree. It's not definitive, but if you think about this, Joe Biden was caught with a bunch. I don't even know. I don't even think we know the full count. But a bunch of classified documents back from when he was not only a senator, but also as vice president. Now, to be clear on this, as a senator and a vice president, he does not have any authority, number one, to declassify documents, and number two, to take them outside of secured areas for viewing. Doesn't have that authority, doesn't have that right. And so he goes and takes these documents home. They are found in his garage next to his Corvette, which, by the way, was accessible by Hunter Biden, who literally does not have, as far as I'm aware, a top secret clearance, nor does he have the ability to see these classified documents. Now, you have Hunter Biden, who had reportedly had a Chinese national, high-ranking Chinese official over to that house, and he got either drunk or wasted or whatever out of his mind, basically leaving that individual alone with the ability to go into the garage and find these documents. Now, I'm sorry, but the only thing that makes sense outside of even just deciding policy, let's just leave that off the table. But outside of deciding policy and helping to form policy that might be favorable to these entities, these foreign entities, he also had access. They also had access to classified documents that we honestly still don't really know what was in those documents. And so, honestly, I mean, this is really a big problem. This has been a big problem for Joe, and it's really a big problem for his reelection campaign. I mean, not to mention the fact that, his approval ratings are in the toilet. But if you go on and talk about any of this, this is seriously a big, huge security risk, because this is a sitting president who is essentially a foreign agent. And this, I think, I get the feeling that this is kind of just the tip of the iceberg, because as somebody in my Rumble chat pointed out, they're still waiting on some bank documents. They're also still waiting on documents from the FBI. They've subpoenaed as well. So there is, yeah, there's some serious problems here within the Biden investigation, the whole Biden family and everything that is going on. I mean, I've been touting it for a while. Jan Bongino's been touting it for a while, and we pretty much, I mean, it's not up for debate. I'm sorry, all you leftists that, you know, jump on me on Twitter and everything else, it's not up for debate anymore. The guy literally is compromised. He is compromised. His family is compromised. And, you know, essentially based off of like the 25th Amendment, okay, because he is compromised, he could easily be considered to not be able to faithfully and fully execute the office or the duties of the office of the president, and could be removed just for this alone under the 25th. If anybody in his cabinet and the vice president had any inkling or sense of patriotism and that kind of thing, they would 25th him. They would get rid of him, get him out. Now, apparently, they also uncovered some other emails, and this is the Daily Wire that was reporting this. To be honest with you, I'm not quite sure if this ties in with the next article that I'm going to show you. But here, some emails show that Biden corruption allegations were sent to a federal prosecutor in 2018. Now, this particular one kind of makes me suspect. And the reason being is, and gives an indication, by the way, of the corruption of and the total invasion of leftist Democrats in the who are bureaucrats in the government. Because if they had allegations that were sent to a federal prosecutor in 2018 and that federal prosecutor didn't do anything, he, I guess, didn't do anything, that would give you a total indication as to the depth of what we are talking about in terms of what everybody colloquially calls the swamp. So from the Daily Wire piece here, new details about a possible corruption scheme involving President Joe Biden, his son Hunter Biden, and Ukrainian energy company Burisma Holdings came to light on Monday as investigations into the first family heat up. Bud Cummins, a U.S. attorney turned lobbyist, wrote to the top federal prosecutor in Manhattan in 2018, sharing that Ukraine's then prosecutor general Yuri Lutsenko was willing to share alleged evidence of crooked behavior by Biden dating back to when he was vice president, according to emails reported by Just the News on Monday. The document came to light days after House Oversight Chairman James Comer announced that he issued a subpoena demanding the FBI produce an unclassified record alleging a criminal scheme involving then Vice President Joe Biden and a foreign national with a deadline of May 10th. Lutsenko believes Biden and former Secretary of State John Kerry, oh my gosh, now they're pulling John Kerry into this too. John Kerry, quote, exercised influence to protect Burisma Holdings in exchange for payments to Hunter Biden, who is business partner Devon Archer, and Joe Biden, Cummings told then U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Berman in 2018. Alleged evidence and John Doe witnesses could corroborate claims that Biden, who as vice president led U.S. policy in Ukraine, got a cut from Burisma founder Mykola Zlochensky, through an LLC, Cummins said in the emails. Hunter Biden and his business partner Devon Archer, a former Kerry campaign advisor, sentenced to sentenced in 2022 to more than a year in prison after being convicted in a fraud scheme, had served on the Burisma's board of directors. Ukrainian prosecutor General Viktor Shokin, who preceded Lutsenko in the role, had spearheaded a corruption investigation into Burisma, but was forced out of office amid pressure by then Vice President Joe Biden and others in the international community. And of course, we know about the pressure. Vice President Joe Biden, he is on record basically saying it. Yeah, this is, I'm sorry, folks, if you actually believe that this guy is clean, and you know, the funny thing is that they have been working so hard to go after Trump for stuff like what the Bidens are doing. This is just crazy for anybody who is still diving into the Biden camp and like, oh, this is all fake. No, it's not. No, it's all facts. Everything is facts and evidence over here. And yeah, there's just no way. No way. So here's another article about emails, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't pull this one up for sure, but apparently, you know how Joe keeps talking about how he didn't know anything about Hunter Biden's, business associates and everything else? Well, here, Matt Margolis of PJ Media writes that emails prove Hunter Biden arranged a meeting between dad and his clients. And a client, I should say. We have photos of Joe and Hunter with, high end clients. This is ridiculous. I mean, I can't even understand why they're doing this, why they can't explain. But here's a excerpt from the email exchange. So the email, Nicholas Rohatyn, a Biden donor and founder of CEO of the Rohatyn Group, met with Biden and visited the White House several times when Biden was vice president and when Hunter's now defunct Rosemont Seneca Partners was overseeing his hedge funds accounts. Fox News reports. Rohatyn's business relationship with Hunter appears to have started in March of 2010 when Hunter and Eric Schwerin, RSP's then president, discussed inviting him to a Mexico lunch. The Mexico State dinner at the White House was held on May 19th in 2010, so it appears that the lunch occurred around this time. Quote, "Can we invite Nick Rohan to the Mexico lunch?" Evan Ryan said, "We may have some spots." Thoughts? Sherwin asked. Evan Ryan is Biden's current White House cabinet secretary who was serving as his assistant at the time. She also is the wife of current Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. Wow. And Anthony Blinken wrote that. Oh my gosh. The web of corruption in this place. Can you just believe this? All right. Going back to the piece. She is also the wife of current Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, who reportedly coordinated the infamous letter from 51 former intelligence officials falsely claiming that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. Ryan was instrumental in coordinating invites for the Mexico State dinner. The email exchange continued. Yes, Hunter responded. Also, should see if Carlos Slim is on the list. May not come, but would be good, Sherwin replied, referring to the Mexican billionaire who Hunter was seeking to do business with. It is unclear if Rohatyn attended the luncheon. The next month, on April 14th, 2010, Arlene Bush, a former RSP partner, emailed Hunter, Rohatyn, and another partner at the Rohatyn Group, writing, "As you are aware, we just returned from China. Attached as a sample of the meetings we attended. Please contact me with any questions." July 2015, Hunter arranged a meeting between Rohatyn and Biden in New York City after Rohatyn said he was trying to get a new terminal at LaGuardia Airport named after his father, Felix Rohatyn, who served as former President Clinton's ambassador to France and was a prolific donor to the Democrats. He had passed away in 2019. Hi, Hunter. I see your dad is in town today, so had me thinking of you. How are you holding up? Rohatyn emailed Hunter on July 27, 2015, later adding, I'm trying to get Cuomo to see me so I can ask them to name the new terminal at LaGuardia for my dad while he's still here and able to appreciate it, but no success yet. Hunter says back, I'd gladly ask Dad if he will weigh in. They have a good relationship, and Bo and the governor were close. If you will be in the area, I'd love for you to get a chance to say hi to Dad, Hunter later added. It's easy to arrange. Someone can meet you and take you to his holding room to say hi. All right. I mean, come on, folks. How much more? I mean, even if, how much more evidence do we need? This guy is just buried in stuff. I can't even imagine anyone. I'm still having troubles imagining anyone who is sitting there and can say that this guy and his family are not corrupt. And I'm sure it goes back much farther than just him being vice president. I'm sure he started all of this when he was in the Senate for the 40 years that he was in. And yes, Buddy points out, I'm sorry, but all the evidence in the world won't matter with a corrupt DOJ. Absolutely. I mean, Garland has already been put out, by the way, as the one who is the Department of Justice official who is protecting the Bidens. So you are correct. I don't know about you guys, but I am so freaking glad that Garland is not on the bench of the Supreme Court. I mean, it's bad enough we have Ketanji Brown Jackson, who can't even identify what a woman is, can't define what a woman is. But realistically, I am just so glad that Garland never made it to the Supreme Court. That was just a fantastic move. As much as I criticize, McConnell and I think that he's a rhino more than anything else, he is just that one particular decision it changed the course, seriously changed the course of history. In that space. So anyway, well, as you all know, I picked up my blue check mark and I've been spending a lot of time over on Twitter. Maybe not so much as I probably shouldn't be. I mean, Mrs. Whiskey has already nailed the crap out of me a few times. But I've been spending a lot of more time on Twitter because all of a sudden my posts are getting views. Things that I'm posting are actually getting like 3,000 to 4,000 views where they were getting barely hundreds before the blue check. So thank you, Mark K. Show, for that. I do appreciate it. But Biden, and actually Eric Swalwell got hit with one of these too, but Biden apparently in Elon, thankfully, Elon's takeover of Twitter is another thing that, to be honest with you, is just an incredible thing to have happened to us. I'm being told to drink, so give me just a second here. And it is just an incredible space now. Tucker Carlson, for those of you that don't know, Tucker Carlson is going to start doing video over there. And he's not getting paid, by the way. He's just going to be using Twitter to put out his viewpoints and to sort of start the process of getting back into the limelight, because Fox has done what they did. Which again, anyone that was watching Fox, even just for Tucker Carlson and stuff, just go away. Just let them wallow in their own pit of despair after this because the mainstream media is dead. Fox had a partial toe in the conservative pool, but to be honest with you, they're gone. They're just done. Tucker Carlson getting ousted. Dan Bongino getting ousted, things like that. Yeah, we're just, now Dan Bongino has been upfront and honest. It was due to contract negotiations. So I'm not as much inclined to like bring his name into it. He is clear about that point and that they just couldn't come to an agreement. But the whole Tucker Carlson thing, yeah, that was just enough. Now I only, as far as Fox went, I only watched him for Dan Bongino's Unfiltered anyway. I haven't really watched Tucker Carlson that much, mostly because of the fact that, I'm probably in bed by the time Tucker comes on. But I am going to probably pick up, depending upon when he does all of his Twitter videos, I will probably pick up his videos there. So, but anyway, all right. But why am I talking about Twitter? Let me tie that in. So Biden was slapped with a Twitter community notes fact check after a big lie was called out. What big lie was called out? Well, he continually lies over and over and over again about how many jobs he has created as president. Okay. And so he does tweets like what you see on the screen here, where he says, this is what happens when you invest in America. We have more work to do, but this is real progress. The one thing that Biden keeps forgetting and, of course, neglects or just omits and lies by omission is the fact that he took over right as COVID was ending. And COVID, we had put in our economy into essentially a stasis for it. And we lost, I don't know, around 10 million jobs during that COVID shutdown because of restaurants and other places that people weren't frequenting anymore, et cetera, et cetera. Well, when Biden took over, a lot of that stuff started going away. And we started, the economy started picking up jobs. Well, as I've said on this program before, and I've shown you the proof, in past episodes, the economy, Biden claims that he's brought back 12.7 million jobs, almost 13 million jobs. The reality is he's gained back 10 and has only regained back 10. So keep that in mind. He's brought back the original 10 that we lost during COVID, which is part of what makes up Trump's, which you see in the graph here, part of what makes Trump's losses show up, but he only gained about 2.7 million jobs. He's saying he gained back 12, but he actually hasn't. He's only gained back roughly 2 million, which when you look at the chart, he's really not that great at this point in terms of jobs created throughout his time. And so Twitter decided, the community notes went ahead and slapped him this, and it pointed this out. Colin Rugg did it. In particular, I'll community note this for you. Very misleading. In March 2020, the U.S. was locked down due to COVID. Unemployment skyrocketed and many lost their jobs. When Biden came into office, lockdowns were ending and everyone got their jobs back. Biden calls this job creation. And then a little bit farther down, somebody by the name of John says, this is one of the most misleading charts I've ever seen. I'll add some context. These jobs weren't created. These are people going back to work. Per month is skewed because it's over a different time scale. It likely will not stay this high after a full 4 years. Lastly, this is largely driven by COVID, not investing in America. And Lawrence posted, as of my knowledge, there is no information to suggest that President Joe Biden has ever started a company or personally created any jobs. All he's done is take credit for the work of others. Biden has spent most of his career in politics. What are you talking about most? It's all of his career in politics, buddy. Serving as a U.S. Senator from Delaware, VP, etc. Anyway, so you can't, you just can't trust the man. You cannot trust the man. And it's plenty obvious, that he is cognitively impaired. He lies about everything. He has literally no idea of what is going on, and he just recites and struggles with the teleprompter oftentimes. And so the next thing that he's been fighting on in the next big article, or the the big thing that's out there, is, of course, the debt ceiling, the conversation about the debt ceiling. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of misconception about the debt ceiling out there. Okay. Lots of misconception about the debt ceiling. And one of the biggest things, obviously, is that the Democrats, from Hakeem Jeffries to Joe Biden to to Nancy Pelosi, they are all blaming the Republicans. They are all blaming the Republicans for the default, the potential default that's out there. Well, I've got some stuff on that. Here coming up. But the funny thing is that Joe Biden keeps saying that he is not going to do it. Well, this piece from the Hill, he's not going to negotiate on it. Okay. So here is a piece from the Hill. Pressure grows on Biden to bend in debt ceiling talks. And there's a lot of people who are pressuring Joe Biden to bend in the debt ceiling talks with Republicans. Now, I've covered a little bit of what the debt ceiling actually, the bill that was proposed by the Republicans and is passed by Republicans in the House of Representatives, which, for those of you who study the Constitution, know that the House of Representatives is the one that really holds the purse strings for everything. But the thing about it is that the president keeps talking about how he does not want any conditions. All he wants is a blank check. That's it. He's just like, just allow me to spend whatever I want, whenever I want, and everything will be okay. And that is a load of horsepucky. Total load of horsepucky. In fact, and I totally suggest that you check this link out. There is a link in the description, in the video description, in the show notes, from justfactsdaily.com. And it is a awesome write-up by James Agresti. He put it out on May 9th, 2023. And essentially, the some of the things that are in here, he debunks a lot of the stuff of what the Democrats are talking about in terms of the debt ceiling and everything else. And a couple of things here is, contrary to widespread claims that the U.S. government will default on its debt if Congress doesn't raise the debt ceiling, federal law and the Constitution require the Treasury to pay the debt, and it has ample tax revenues to do this. It also says that the Social Security benefits would be affected by the debt limit, which is another claim by Biden. And he essentially states, Biden keeps stating that, hey, Social Security and Medicare are going to get taken out. Nope. Because if President Biden illegally diverts that Social Security payments to other programs, and again, the key there is illegal. Okay. And so there's a bunch of stuff in here, and I only want to highlight a couple of things. But the U.S. national debt has grown by $2.8 trillion since 2020 and is now $31.5 trillion, which is an average debt of right around $240,000 per every home in the nation. Okay. Those figures do not account for the government's fiscal liabilities and unfunded obligations. When these are included, as the government requires in the financial statements of publicly traded corporations, the total federal shortfall is actually $135 trillion. This is an average burden of more than $1 million per household. Okay. Now, there's a lot of other stuff in here. I'm telling you, this is just huge. But here's the thing, and this is where it really boils down to. Federal law that governs the repayment of the national debt states that the faith of the United States government is pledged to pay in legal tender principal and interest on the obligations of the government issued under this chapter. And the Secretary of the Treasury shall pay interest due or accrued on the public debt. There's also a piece or a small part in the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, which states that the validity of the public debt of the United States shall not be questioned. Okay. I got something on that in just a second. But here's the big thing. An actual default can only occur if President Biden, in this case, disregards a federal law that supports the Constitution he has sworn to uphold. So the only way that we would go and default is if the president decides to default. So yeah, it's the president is the problem, not the House. The House has already passed the bill. If the president decides to default, it's all on him for that. And so prioritizing spending, he could go through and prioritize certain things in order to make sure that, prioritize some spending and not others. And this is where, so like President, back in Barack Obama's days, I think, the Biden ambassador to China, Max Baucus, had did a floor speech in the Senate not too long ago where the Treasury has no legal authority to prioritize spending and pay only the most important bills, which is actually in conflict with the Constitution, which essentially explicitly requires federal officials to perform specific functions like the president's duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed and to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, Congress's duty to assemble at least once every year, the entire government's duty to guarantee that every state in the union, a Republican form, a representative form of government, and to protect each of them against invasion. Now that's interesting considering they're not doing anything at the border. And the duty to honor the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts incurred for payment of pensions. All right. So again, if we default, this is actually on the president, not on Congress. This is what the president is supposed to do. Okay. So, now they're saying that one of the claims is saying that the Treasury is incapable of prioritizing spending. But the fact of the matter is that they were technologically capable. Back during the Obama administration, there was a congressional subpoenas forced during the Obama administration to produce documents which revealed that the Treasury was technologically capable of prioritizing payments. It was running debt ceiling exercises regarding these sorts of contingencies since 2011. It was planning on prioritizing payments during the debt limit impasses of 2013 and hid these facts to maximize pressure on Congress so they would cave to Obama's position that any increase in the debt ceiling would not be accompanied by spending constraints, which is a bunch of crap. So again, Joe Biden is like, just following Obama's lead. So anyway, okay. Social Security payments are also protected, and let me just explain that. So if Biden unlawfully diverts Social Security revenues to other programs, because of the fact that the finances of the Social Security program are legally separated from the rest of the federal government, making it illegal to spend Social Security taxes on any other program other than Social Security. Furthermore, the 2022 Social Security Trustees Report states the Social Security Act prohibits payments from the OASI, which is Old Age and Survivors Insurance, and DI, Disability Insurance Trust Funds, for any purpose not related to the payment of benefits or administrative costs for the Social Security program. So in other words, yeah, they have to pay their debt. And the Social Security Trust Fund assets are comprised entirely of federal government debt. So the Treasury's obligation to pay the interest and principal on that particular debt is covered by the same law that requires it to pay for all other debt. Okay. I mean, the default is completely on Biden. The default is completely on Biden. He has, and I'm only hitting a couple of spots out of this article. You really, really, really need to read it. Yeah. So the debt ceiling literally is just a manufactured thing, to be honest with you. And it's designed to actually kind of hold the government a little bit accountable to the people so that we have at least some transparency into our government spending. But the fact of the matter is anything that was considered discretionary spending, that can be manipulated. And in fact, discretionary spending typically is we give you or we earmark a bunch of money, and if you don't use it, then we get whatever's left back. But anyway, yeah. So this is just, this whole debt ceiling thing is just a complete mess. And they're using it again. The Democrats are lying to you folks. So the Washington Examiner went ahead and put together a article here about how the dominoes will fall if the worst happens with the debt ceiling. And basically, of course, the United States is inching closer and closer. I believe that date is June 1st, if I recall. But here's what the article in the Washington Examiner states. So House Speaker Kevin McCarthy offered up a plan that would raise the debt ceiling over the next year by 1.5 trillion or until March 31st of 2024, which I'd talk to you, whichever comes first. But the plan would cut back on spending and include other provisions that are unacceptable to Democrats in the Democratic-controlled Senate, such as beefed up work requirements for welfare. So here's a timeline of what the Washington Examiner thinks is going to happen with the situation. We'll get market turbulence, of course, because if we go to borrow more, because and especially if Biden enacts the 14th Amendment and does this without congressional approval, because that's what he thinks, any loan that the government gets under that situation is going to be extremely high in interest. And the reason being is because most people are, or most loaners, I don't know. I can't think of the word. But most people who would loan the money are going to loan it at a high interest, knowing that they have a very big likelihood that they are not going to get the money back should it be deemed unconstitutional for Biden to do what essentially he is claiming he can do under the 14th Amendment. and bypassing Congress. Okay. So anyway, so that's the first thing. But the second thing is that we'll get a credit downgrade. Okay. The Treasury, quote unquote, misses payments. Well, like I pointed out to you, the only payments that they would be missing would be anything with discretionary spending, not any kind of scenario where it's it's going to be for like Social Security or things that are legally responsible, that the president and Congress are legally responsible for taking care of. Default is still unlikely given the massive implications, economic and political, of a default occurring. It is very likely that neither side flinches and allows a technical default. Even in 2011, when it appeared possible, a deal was ultimately reached. And so, yeah, this is just, she thinks that so Maya McGinnis, who is president of the committee for a responsible federal government or federal budget, I wish it was federal government, told the Washington Examiner on Monday that she thinks a temporary patch raising the debt limit just for a month or two could be helpful because it would give both sides more time to work on a negotiated agreement. She also thinks a default is not a likely outcome. She said, and I quote, "I still think it's highly unlikely that they will default because there is such a clear compromise to be had, meaning we will have savings, but it should be negotiated as part of the budget. An important thing is that they start these discussions quickly." Now, here's the thing. The Republicans passed the budget cutting back on spending for a lot of the Green New Deal, the Inflation Reduction Act, which does literally nothing to reduce inflation. And talked about that extensively. So the point is here is that, this whole situation is really, really bad, but Biden keeps talking about invoking the 14th Amendment to bypass the debt ceiling. And the fact of the matter is, if he decides to do that, that's going to set up a constitutional crisis, which will have to be addressed by the Supreme Court. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, the 14th Amendment was actually passed just after the Civil War, and it was designed to ensure that the states that came back, quote unquote, back to the Union, that stayed a part of it, it was designed to make sure that any debts that they incurred during the war, that it was going to be taken care of, and that was the full faith and credit of the United States. But Biden seems to think that that's giving him the opportunity to work around it for the debt ceiling, and I don't think it gives. In fact, several people have discussed the theory being risky, including the left-leaning Washington Post. So let me explain something about this 14th Amendment. So this is in the red state. So the part that he is talking about is Section 4 of the 14th Amendment. And it essentially says the validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts incurred for payment of pensions and bounties for services in suppressing insurrection or rebellion, shall not be questioned. So that's the key, is that, this is right after the Civil War and a lot of the things that went on dealing with the Civil War. It continues, but neither the United States nor any state shall assume or pay any debt or obligation incurred in aid of insurrection or rebellion against the United States, or any claim to the loss for the loss or emancipation of any slave, but all such debts, obligations, and claims shall be held illegal and void. Okay, now the Washington Post points out that the theory itself is risky. The theory of using the 14th Amendment to bypass the Congress and the U.S. Constitution at its base. Washington Post points out, since the debt ceiling fights that began during the Obama administration, some legal experts have argued that the White House can ignore Congress and simply declare the borrowing limit to be incompatible with the 14th Amendment, which says the validity of public debt authorized by law shall not be questioned. Under this theory, the Treasury Department could keep borrowing money past the limit, issuing federal debt to keep government operations funded. The administration would argue that Congress had approved two irreconcilable laws, the debt ceiling and then later measures that require spending in excess of the limit. But administration officials think these kinds of moves could backfire dangerously. Any option to act without Congress would probably be subject to an immediate legal challenge by Republicans as an overreach of executive authority. No matter what the merits of the debate are, Biden officials fear that investors would demand much higher interest rates to buy government debt that the courts could throw out. And they probably would throw them out, by the way. Since prospects for repayment would be unclear. That could lead to federal borrowing costs to spike, as well as drive up rates for other loans. And it could lead to the same broader panic in financial markets that it is intended to avoid, administration officials fear. Janet Yellen has actually even pointed out that, our priority is to make sure that Congress does its job. There's no way to protect our financial system in our economy other than Congress doing its job and raising the debt ceiling and enabling us to pay our bills. Well, raising the debt ceiling doesn't do anything with the bills. I mean, I'm sorry. Anyway. Yeah, the point being is that right now, the Republicans in the House of Representatives have passed a bill. They've put it in front of the president. The president needs to negotiate. He can't be talking about these wild theories to go out and, use the 14th Amendment to bypass the debt ceiling and cause a constitutional crisis and all kinds of other issues that are going on with this entire setup. It's just not, it's not a good spot for him to be in. All right. So in addition to Joe Biden talking about going around the Constitution, we also have, there's Buddy. Oh, I love Buddy. There is plenty of pork in Biden budget. Yep. Plenty of pork there. That's for sure. I mean, literally what we're talking about is essentially just like any other family or corporation would do. If we don't have the money coming in to be able to take care of our debts, then we need to cut our spending in order to bring back our spending into what we can handle as a part of our income to debt ratio. Okay. That's just simple economics and simple math. And I don't even understand why these people can't seem to, actually, I do understand why Joe Biden wants to essentially make sure that he can spend money anytime that he wants on anything that he wants, which is wrong. But anyway, Biden, in addition to doing the 14th Amendment and even talking about the 14th Amendment kind of thing, we also have something going on in terms of the White House and their press credentials. Check this out. In violation of the First Amendment, I added that in, but the post-millennial article here says the White House is to limit press credentials to those who act professional. It is ironic that these modifications come shortly after President Biden declared that journalism is not a crime on World Press Freedom Day. So here's the thing, is they are trying to limit who can sit in the press briefing room and ask questions of Karine Jean-Pierre and, of course, question the Biden administration to essentially outlets that are going to be friendly to the administration. Yeah. This is horrible. And one site in particular, or one outlet in particular that has already been kicked off, quote unquote, kicked off the roster, is, of course, the New York Post, which broke the Hunter Biden laptop story. And the White House bans the Post from a Biden event as Hunter indictment looms. They've already talked about the White House press office is talked about getting rid of the Post and anybody else. It's just, this is, I'm telling you, the Biden administration, honestly, even though I know a lot of people are like talking about Woodrow Wilson being the worst president in the United States, I don't think so. I think Joe Biden is working on his way to be essentially in a race to the bottom. He's definitely in a race to be the most overturned president, meaning overturned by the courts, president of the United States. And yeah, it's just, I mean, this guy his administration is just a nut. They're just nuts. They're just nuts. I don't understand about it. And I don't understand anybody who's going to vote for these freaking idiots. But anyway, apparently in a continuation of our First Amendment, violations, by the way, this article popped in the Federalist, and let me go ahead and bring that up. Okay. Government-funded censors violated Congress's mandate to target only foreign disinformation. Well, first of all, why do we even have government-funded censors in the first place? I mean, that in and of itself is a violation of the First Amendment and the Constitution, because what you're doing is trying to get non-governmental organizations, NGOs, to do something that the Constitution specifically prevents government from doing. But that's just a start of a question. But apparently, none of these funds, Congress mandated that none of the funds that were given to them shall be used for purposes other than countering foreign propaganda and misinformation. But the State Department apparently didn't care. So in the piece here, the State Department's Global Engagement Center, GEC, served as one cornerstone of the censorship industrial complex, colluding with non-governmental organizations and tech giants to silence disfavored speech during the 2020 election cycle. Gee, the Hunter Biden laptop is an example. Anyway, as an investigation by the Federalist now indicates that the GEC violated its congressional mandate by financing activities and organizations that targeted the free speech of Americans itself. GEC's creation, the global and mission creep, it says, the Global Engagement Center is a multi-agency center housed in the State Department that originated in 2011 as the Center for Strategic Counterterrorism Communications, or the CSCC, which the Obama administration, that's a surprise, not really, established by executive order to support federal agency communications in targeting violent extremism and terrorist organizations. In 2016, the Obama administration issued a second executive order morphing the CSCC into the GEC, but leaving its counterterrorism mission largely unchanged. However, when Congress passed the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2017, statutorily establishing the GEC, the center's purpose was expanded beyond its original mandate of countering the influence of international terrorists such as the Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, and other foreign extremists. The 2017 NDAA directed the GEC to coordinate efforts of the federal government to counter foreign state and foreign non-state propaganda and disinformation efforts aimed at undermining the United States' national security interests. So basically, in other words, the GEC further down here talks about how the GEC exceeded its statutorily defined purpose by seeking to counter supposed domestic misinformation and disinformation. Likewise, it illegally used the funds to funds appropriated to counter foreign propaganda and misinformation for other purposes. So here we are. Anyone that's out there, Obama and Biden are totally they're using the government entities to attack Americans. We are in the most corrupt United States government in recent history. Oh, I don't even understand. I mean, this is just so horrible. Some days when I read all of this stuff, I really get down. But you know what helps me? What helps me is to understand that there are people like you who are out here who are trying to fight continually for our government. Now, a couple last articles really quick here before we move on to my final thoughts and stuff. Red State article just popped. You know that wonderful place called Chicago that is incredibly against guns, but yet for some reason seems to be always ranked in some of the highest gun crime that is out there. Okay. I'm just going to tell you, I saw this article and it just made me chuckle. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. As Chicago crime wave, this is in Red State, by the way. As Chicago crime wave soars, police advise business owners to install bulletproof glass. Oh, seriously, folks? That's the response that you have? Oh my gosh. So Chicago, just so everybody understands, Chicago's got one of the strictest gun laws essentially in the nation. They have constantly been challenged by it. But the fact is that they have problems every single year with, multiple murders and gun-related crimes. The above headline, according to Red State, does the above headline read like a satire piece from the Babylon Bee? It should. As Chicago's violent crime wave continues with no end in sight, the Chicago Police Department is actually advising business owners to install bulletproof glass to protect themselves. How reassuring and insane. But it's no parody, it's true. As reported by Fox Business, the Chicago Police Department is advising business owners in Wicker Park, in particular, a neighborhood in the West Town community area of Chicago, and Humboldt Park, also on the city's west side, to install Armorplast, an invisible shatterproof shield produced by a company called Riot Glass to protect themselves and their businesses from armed robbery or worse. Neither outgoing Mayor Lori Lightfoot nor incoming Mayor Brandon Johnson were available for comment. Oh my gosh. So the CPD told CBS News that they specifically recommended Armorplast in an alert to business owners, which founder Brad Campbell says can help keep thieves out. We want to keep the bad guys outside the building, and that's what this product does. Yeah, guys, folks, look. So now they're telling you, instead of doing something like, policing, that's an example. Yeah, this is just crazy. Chicago crime wave soaring, and police are basically saying, install bulletproof glass. Forget the rest. Just install the bulletproof glass. That will take care of it. I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. And let's see. The last thing, of course, that I want to talk about before I get to my final stuff is some Dems are nervous about a recent poll showing that people have doubts about Biden's fitness for office. We have a lot more than just doubts about his fitness for office, folks. We have doubts about his criminal enterprises, the Biden crime family, and Hunter Biden's business dealings, being a foreign agent, etc., etc. So, yeah, it's just, I mean, come on, folks. I don't even understand. Come on, man. If you vote for Biden, you are literally shoving your head in the sand like a frickin' ostrich, trying to avoid getting eaten by that lion that's coming, and you're essentially hiding from the truth in the fact that you're going to get killed. Yeah, this is just, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I can't do it. All right, so instead of Pet of the Week, I have a submission by Outlawed Dogs over on Rumble. And yeah, she sent me this video and told me specifically I couldn't watch it. So I literally have no idea of what this video is about, but she sent it to me last minute. So I'm going to go ahead. And by the way, if you want to see your pet on Pet of the Week, okay, if you want to see your pet on Pet of the Week, send me an email to fans, FANS, at whiskeymusings.online. That is fans, spelling it phonetically, Foxtrot Alpha November Sierra, at whiskeymusings.online, and we can get your Pet of the Week put up. But let me go ahead and bring this up. So here we go. I have no idea what this video is about, and I'll be honest with you, I'm a little scared because I know a little bit about outlawed dogs. I honestly have no idea what she's got here, but let's all watch it together. Here we go. Oh, well, that was awfully nice of you. Holy smokes. You know what? Let's watch that again. That was cool. Congratulations to 200 episodes. Oh, thank you, Whiskey Warriors. I do appreciate that. Outlaw Dogs for putting in the extra effort for doing that. That was just great. Thank you so much. 200 episodes in the books as of now, and I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep doing this. This is definitely something that I've got to, you all are here. We're just getting started here, people. We're just getting started. I've got so much more. I've got so much more energy, and yeah, this is just incredible. Thank you so much for joining. We will see you Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, right here on the Whiskey Musings broadcast. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week, and maybe we'll get some more special things that pop in the news between now and then. Good night, everybody, and we'll see you next time on the Whiskey Musings broadcast. See ya.
The Whiskey Musings broadcast is produced by Active Eye Media, LLC. All rights reserved.